experts. Book your spot today. Tirito.
ఆగస్టు నెలలో కూడా చాలా ముఖ్యమైన 2 ఈవెంట్లు వస్తున్నాయండి. 15th ఆగస్ట్ యాజ్ యూ నో మన ఇండిపెండెన్స్ డే. సో ఆ రోజు తప్పకుండా మందిర్ ఆ రోజు మొత్తం ఓపెన్ ఉంటుంది. ఆ రోజు కూడా అందరినీ దర్శనం రావాల్సిందిగా మేము కోరుతున్నాం. ఎందుకంటే 15 ఆగస్టు మనకి స్వతంత్ర దినోత్సవం చాలా ముఖ్యమైన రోజు. ఆ రోజు మనం గుర్తు చేసుకోవడం కోసం అందరూ కూడా తప్పకుండా వచ్చి బాబాగారి దర్శనం చేసుకొని బ్లెస్సింగ్స్ తీసుకుందాం. తర్వాత 24 ఆగస్టు భగవాన్ శ్రీ 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 గొలగముడి వెంకట స్వామి వారి యొక్క ఆరాధనోత్సవం అంటే వారి పుణ్యతిథి. మన దసరా రోజునాడు బాబాగారి పుణ్యతిథి ఎలాగో వెంకట స్వామి వారి పుణ్యతిథి ఆగస్టు 24 మంగళవారం అవుతుంది. ఆ రోజు కూడా మనం ఆరాధనోత్సవం జరుపుకుంటాం ఇక్కడ గుడిలో పెద్ద ఎత్తున. సో గురు పూర్ణిమ లాగానే చాలా ముఖ్యమైన ఈవెంట్ మనకి. దానికి కూడా బోల్డ్ మంది డివోటీస్ అందరూ కూడా పెద్ద సంఖ్యలో విచ్చేసి వెంకటస్వామి గారి బాబా గారి యొక్క బ్లెస్సింగ్స్ తీసుకోవాలని చెప్పి కోరుతున్నామండి.
Pure product.
Nanotechnology enabled oxygen sterilizer and respirator.
We are excited to let you know that Red India Celebration 2021 International is here. You can join us from any city, any place, anywhere. Do you love to read? Do you love to think and act? Yes, we are there to support you. Come and join us. Register yourself at www.readindia.info. If you love to read, we are here.
భారత స్వాతంత్ర వజ్రోత్సవ వేడుకలను అమెరికా తెలుగు సంఘం ఆటా సాహిత్య సదస్సు సాహితీ సంబరాలను ఆగస్టు 14 నాడు ఘనంగా నిర్వహించబోతుంది. ఈ కార్యక్రమంలో డాక్టర్ నందమూరి లక్ష్మీపార్వతి గారు, డాక్టర్ నందిని సీతారెడ్డి గారు, శ్రీ జొన్నవిత్తుల రామలింగేశ్వరరావు గారు, శ్రీ ఆర్ నారాయణమూర్తి గారు, శ్రీ పెంచిల్దాస్ గారు, శ్రీ ఇమిటేషన్ రాజు గారు ఆత్మీయ అతిథులుగా పాల్గొనబోతున్నారు. ఈ సాహితీ సంబరాలను అమెరికా ఈఎస్టీ టైం 11:30 AM డిష్ నెట్వర్క్ ఛానల్ 771 TV5 లో లైవ్ లో వీక్షించగలరు.
ఆర్మోర్ బై గీత అంటేనే నమ్మకం, నాణ్యత, తగ్గింపు ధరలు. వర్జీనియా నుంచి ప్రారంభం అయిన విశ్వసనీయ స్వర్ణ వస్త్ర ప్రస్థానం. కాంజీవరం, బెనారస్, వెంకటగిరి, మైసూర్, డిజైనర్ శారీస్ ఎన్నో వెరైటీస్ కలవు. పెళ్లి పట్టు చీరలు, మగ్గం వర్క్, లెహెంగాలు, ఇలా ఎన్నో లేటెస్ట్ ట్రెండీ అండ్ ట్రెడిషనల్ డిజైన్స్ కి పెట్టింది పేరు. 22 క్యారెట్ హాల్మార్క్ బంగారం అండ్ GIA సర్టిఫైడ్ డైమండ్ జ్యువెలరీ అతి తక్కువ ధరకే అద్భుతమైన క్వాలిటీతో మీ ముందుకు తీసుకొస్తున్నారు. ఆర్మోర్ బై గీతాలో షాపింగ్ అంటేనే ఒక మధురమైన అనుభూతి. Armoire by Geeta. For trendy, traditional and latest jewelry collections, please contact Geeta Chintavali at 571-422-0386. Email gchintavali@gmail.com.
Do you want to know about your future? Do you want to fix your love and marriage situation? Clear separation issues, clear spiritual blocks, business problems, career issues or health challenges? Astrologer Priya can help you circumvent all your life's challenges in a jiffy with her deep and profound astrological charts and expertise, and her clairvoyant abilities can give a quick fix and a peaceful solution to life's most difficult problems and puzzles. For more information, please call Priya at 201-925-7731. Also, please visit Priya's website, astrologybypriya.com. And remember, Her new clients will receive one-time free reading.
Wonder how you can get groceries, your favorite food from your favorite restaurants, flowers, delectable desserts from the best bakers at your doorstep? Wonder how you can avoid those lengthy lines in your favorite stores and sit at home with ease and get your desired goods? iPerks is the way to go. iPerks is a lovely, candid, user-friendly, fun mobile app to shop and navigate through all that you love and get them delivered at your doorstep with just a few quick clicks. Now available in a 60-mile radius from Edison, New Jersey, you need not shop till you drop. Let iPerks drop off all that you love to the place you call home. With all your items, groceries, best food, flowers, and more, dispensed in embellished and strongly packed biodegradable bags, be rest assured that what you ordered comes home safe and intact. Available on both Android and iOS, iPerks app says this is your opportunity to indeed let go of
Soundly. So let's get introduced to both of the esteemed guests, and then we can get started. So Dr. Aparna Rao, she is a senior professor and faculty in number of institutions, and she is also a startup mentor and women entrepreneurship, and she is an entrepreneurship educator and in the DSS IIT Mumbai. She is also a program anchor, Women in Entrepreneurship, WIIC, National Council member, and visiting faculty for number of educational institutes. Thank you, Dr. Aparna. And Soundari Mukherjee, she is an IIT, Calcutta, PGDM, and finance. And she's also a great organizational consultant, business storytelling coach, and personal branding strategist, online and offline, a speaker, mentor, and helping leaders. And teams drive outcome through story-powered conversation. Again, thank you so much, Soundari and Aparna. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Praveen. Just a quick, this one is IIM Calcutta. IITians might rise up in revolt on that.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for correcting that. And today, our topic, our theme is support system for the early entrepreneurship. So let's get started about the entrepreneurship. And in today's world, right, the entrepreneurship is very much needed for everyone, right? Apart from the employment, and I would say everyone should become an entrepreneurship. So why don't we touch more about what is the early life cycle? Suppose, let's talk about the entrepreneurship versus employment. What is the difference in mindset? Can you go ahead, Soundari, first, and then we can touch base with Aparna ji on her thoughts and views.
Yeah, sure. It's like, obviously the journey is very different for everybody. So that's something that each of us carry our own experience and lived experience and journey on this. But it's like saying it's the space where you need the most positive mental attitude. And the only way of looking at it is every day is an uphill battle. On a positive note, it's good for the glutes. So you can keep climbing and keep rocking. Requires a very creative mindset, because the starting point of any entrepreneurship, it's not that you're suddenly hit by a lightning and you have an idea. You're exploring a whole lot of dreams and big ideas initially. You're just on the free flow, and then it takes the conviction to take that plunge. So an absolute creative mindset on following some of these things, persuasive communication ability, and we'll talk a little bit more about it as we go along. Intrinsic motivation, because it is a journey which is not a linear journey. You're not going to go from point A to B directly. There's going to be a C and a D and up and a down and all those emotional yo-yos that are going to be there, constant butterflies in your stomach, kind of thing. So it requires a lot of that drive. The persistence and the tenacity, yes, but also the ability to learn from failure. And we don't talk too much about it, because in general in our country, we just brush over the failures and okay, what next, and move on. And I think that's something, again, we can touch upon a bit later. It's like absolutely non-linear path looking at some of these aspects. What do
Very
you
well.
think, Aparna?
Yes, so Saundari and Praveen, very interesting and probably coincidental that this question came, employment versus self-employment. This was a theme that I had used for my soft skills students for a group discussion 2 hours ago. And one of those boys, he was such a nice speaker there, and he said, when you're employed, you are paying taxes and you do not have any control on that. You do not have any choice. The payment comes to you after taxes. But when you're self-employed, you have a way. You do not. He did not mean manipulation. He's a young kid, but what he meant is when you are self-employed, a lot of costs that you pay for as a salaried employee are covered under business costs, which helps you in your tax saving. So he put it, he says, ma'am, it's like cut and dry. It's about money and nothing else. So that's this young student's perspective. Of course, there's a lot more. But having just brought up this young student's point, self-employment is very attractive, not because of all the cliched statements that I am my own boss and all of that. You are not your own boss. Whether you're employed or self-employed, you are accountable, you are answerable. And you have to be responsible. You have to hand over things to clients or customers or even your bosses if you are employed. So I wouldn't say that. But a self-employed person definitely has a lot more control on what they want to do with their own lives. You have the choice to craft your life, which as a salaried employee, you do not. Let me give you just one quick thought. Retirement age is fixed by somebody else.
Yes.
So in some cases it's 58, in some cases it is 60, in some cases it is 65. And if you push, maybe they'll take you to 70, they'll tolerate you and all of that. But if you're self-employed, there is no retirement. I know an 80-year-old founder of 69 institutions who is going great guns, and he packs in a punch at this age. And I know very young employed professionals who have so much potential, but they are limited because of the choice of the illusion. I think stability is an illusion today. The pandemic has taught us that. So yes, I've seen young people doing that too, and with full respect. I respect your personal decision and your choice, but employment versus self-employment, I think employment allows you a lot more flexibility and multiple sources of income and all of that.
You have rightly said, Dr. Aparna. In today's world, most of us, right, we always think about doing an employee as an employee. So very few people from the business background, they think about self-employment. As you rightly said, there are a lot of benefits in the self-employment, but the mindset is very important, very important. As you both rightly said on the journey of the entrepreneurship mindset, I would ask one question: at what age in our curriculum can we see today's world? At least after PG, I would say they will think of very rare, like maybe 1% or 2% people within a young age, they might become an entrepreneurship. In your both, because you both are gurus, I would like to ask you, in our curriculum, at what stage this flavor needs to be in the curriculum so that people think about it?
Saundari, do you want to start first?
Yeah, sure, Aparna. I think it's every time, and I see this definitely. I live in Hong Kong, and my kids have gone to international schools, and the type of curriculums are different. And you have some bit of that experience as well, Praveen, and Aparna, you as well. I think the schools today are encouraging entrepreneurship at a very early stage. I remember my son in primary school was told to grow some tree plants by himself, and then they had a sale at the schoolyard, and the sale would be towards, you raise funds for something, then you get a sticker, it would go towards a particular cause and all that. So that whole entrepreneurship skills come very early. And I have this visual of him, very clear visual of him, which I tease. He's 19 now, I tease him still about it. He was 5 years old. He had this two trays where he had grown methi, and he had gone and put it up, and he was like shouting out literally, come one, come all, sail here, kind of a thing. So it's never too early. And I think encouraging them to just try out, figure out in safe environments, where there is no pressure to perform, gives them the confidence to go ahead and do it. And I maintain this for our own entrepreneurship journeys. I always say that imagine you're going skydiving, you have the parachute packed on your back, you're linked to your instructor, you're standing at that edge with your arms flared out, and you're looking at the sky and the world below. It is that adrenaline rush which comes in. Half of it is fear, or half of it is excitement. But it's that getting out of that comfort zone, and that's that battle with yourself. And the more you do it from an early stage, the less of it is a ask. It comes much more naturally. So that's
Absolutely. You have rightly said, in the international schools, even my kid, yesterday she was asking, Papa, shall we sell some chocolates? I don't know why she asked. Coincidentally, you rightly said, definitely. I think the early stages now, the presentation skills and the entrepreneurship and the financial calculations, everything is start. And I'm sure that in the international schools it is, but in the normal schools, definitely, I think we need to improve in that area. I feel, personally, I feel. Right? So I think very well said. So there is no limit for the entrepreneurship. Anyone at any age, in any form, you can start. You can become an entrepreneurship. Let's get started.
Can I come in with a couple of examples on to add to what Soundari said? So one of the things that's happening is, of course, this Finland has been an example for entrepreneurship in general. Some of the best, some of these gaming companies, I forget that name, but this Angry Birds. Angry Birds is a product of Finland and started by young students. And in India, I've seen the Delhi government applying this, and they have applied what is called the entrepreneurship mindset curriculum for all the government schools in Delhi. Over 1,200 schools have adopted this. And in partnership with a foundation called Udyam Foundation, they have actually the first hour in Delhi schools, government schools, is about entrepreneurship mindset. EMC they call it, and the teachers are trained to work with students, and these are generally the underprivileged kids. They have been asked to speak to at least 100 customers. Now, whether they buy or sell or what happens is definitely to be seen. The point is the confidence that it builds up, that I can go out there and try this. It gives them, that confidence that they can surmount any difficulty. That is what is happening with some in schools.
Absolutely, Dr. Aparna. That really builds the confidence in the kid, and they will be on their own. Maybe by the time they reach 16, I'm sure that they will get a lot of confidence. So moving on to the next, let's talk about the passion, right? So does passion gives more energy in the entrepreneur journey? What do you think?
Yeah, so Aparna and I were listening to Vani Kola speaking the other day. She is a venture capitalist, and she said that passion is the fuel to survive and the nutrition to thrive, which is stating it very simply but very clearly about what it is. But that's just not how we see it, right? It's a line. And I was thinking about Sarah Blakely, who is the founder of this product called Spanx. Spanx is women's shapewear, which is in the US, currently at like 400 million US dollars business. When she started out, she just had this visual when she was 20s in her college. She just had this visual that I'm going to be in Oprah Winfrey show one day. And she said, okay, what do I need to do to get into Oprah Winfrey show? And at that time, she was studying LSAT, which is the law school classes there. She said, I'll go to law school and obviously I'll do something right and I'll get onto Oprah's show. She went to law school. She failed LSAT, the entrance exam, twice. So that path was not working out. Then she said, what else can I do? And what else can I do? Kind of thing. And slowly, nothing worked out. Suddenly, one day, she found herself selling fax machines, office to office, going, knocking on doors, getting doors slammed at her face, having her visiting cards torn and thrown at her face. And one day, when she was back from one of those trips, she parked her car aside and said, what is happening? This is not what I had visualized for myself. She said, that became her catalyst, her despair, her like whole absolutely low bottom moment became the catalyst. She said, I want to invent a product that I can sell to millions of people that will make them feel good. I can't go through this anywhere. Okay, you stated this big intention. Sometimes again we say, right, let the intention be known and the universe will roll it around it and all that. It didn't happen. It still took her many, many, many years to get her act together, for suppliers to agree to what she wanted done. And there's a whole thing about how she cut off, the legs of a pantyhose to start the product and all that. But it takes time. So there is passion, but it is unending passion and belief, which takes you to where you are. So you have to be prepared for whatever idea presents yourself. So when the idea strikes you, you are ready. You have that moment going. And at the same time, it's not going to just land up from the sky to you. You need to work hard at it. You need to believe in it. And you need to create the environment for that passion to be fostered and for it to go on.
Absolutely. I think it's a motivational story. Here we can understand, even along with passion, your dedication, right? How your passion can be done. It might be dip in some ways, and again you have to really boost up your energy levels and find a way. That's absolutely really very well said, Soundari. So,
and if I can just add on just one line, I was remembering Henry Ford's line. He said that when everything seems to be going against you, remember that the airplane takes off against the wind and not with it.
Absolutely.
So how do you still keep it going? And that's relentless passion. It's not just passion.
Definitely. We need to have passion for everything. What your thoughts, Dr. Aparna?
So yes, I completely agree with Soundari, and Vanikola's talk that both of us heard I think has inspired us also. And so one thing is the passion. More along with the passion has to be a realistic drive which allows you to know where you can take your passion. Now there are, even if you are employed at a workplace, it's your passion for the role that you are playing that will allow you to do a good job at your workplace. So it is completely okay to do a great job at a workplace, and even if you are not recognized for it, it's because you're doing it because you believe, simply because of your belief in the mission or the larger goal for which your job is contributing. If you look at it like that, then your passion definitely works for you. Secondly, when you are driving your own company, along with passion, you also have to have hunger. So like Steve Jobs keeps meaning, in one of his talks that I remembered, he says, stay hungry, stay foolish. You have to meaning, don't remain in a comfort zone all the time. Keep your mindset in a startup mindset. One of my student entrepreneurs also, he was, when he was doing his studies as a student, he would come and sit and chat, and he said, ma'am, I want to be in startup mode, so this is how I'm going to do it. They were already building one company. He says, we'll build this company and then we will sell it. and I will go back into a new idea and explore that. So I said, why do you want to do that? You want to build something and then you can make it into a large organization. He says, no, ma'am, but that will put me into comfort, which will kind of not help me to stay fresh. I would like to remain fresh. I would like to remain young. He's on to his third startup now. He's on to his third startup, and he says, I'm going to stay in startup mode. That's so yes, it's along with passion, it's the belief that yes, whatever I'm doing definitely has value, and I am bringing value into one aspect of the world. You can't change the world, but you can change small parts of the world wherever you want to make an influence or make an impact. So that's
I think you rightly said, Dr. Aparna, because even not only in the startup, even if you see in our employment, right? If you are in your comfort zone, not accepting any new challenges, you will never ever learn, right? So it's the zeal and passion you should have, and working hard towards it to achieve. So definitely, I think that greatly said by both of you. And Soundari, I think your passion of storytelling, right? You see today, if you see, storytelling is really, really important. Even if you are an entrepreneur, if you are a startup ideation, how do you storytell in front of everyone to move your product ahead in the life cycle? So tell us more how this storytelling helps in the startup.
Yeah. I think, to quote Jeff Bezos, you don't have to be a storyteller or a writer by profession to understand the importance of sharing your company's story.
Yeah.
You can have the best of technology, you can have the best of business models, but if your storytelling about your company isn't amazing, it doesn't matter. And that is where it's your one-stop action where you're communicating who you are, what you stand for, and for the world at large. There are various versions. So the ultimate purpose, and we make this difference of business storytelling especially, is not for you to become the next J.K. Rowling of the world. It's for you to use it impactfully to make a point, to drive your outcomes. And that is the distinction. So just for example, if you're talking about companies and passions and why you're doing what you're doing, so Starbucks famously has this thing about providing full healthcare benefits to part-time workers, stock options to all employees. And this didn't just happen like that. A 7-year-old boy growing up in the public housing in Brooklyn in New York, his father was a laborer and who had a series of awful jobs. In 1960, his father got severely hurt. It was a cold winter day, there was a sheet of ice, the father fell down and broke his hip and ankle. And the boy's family, they didn't have any workers' compensation or health insurance. Like I said, he was doing a series of random jobs. So the boy witnessed how the fracturing of the family happened as a result of that fall. The father lost hope, he went into depression, despair. And about 27 years later, this boy became an entrepreneur. And he said, I want to build that kind of company that offers my employees the support that my dad never received. And he created that kind of company. And that 7-year-old boy is Howard Schultz, the former CEO of Starbucks. So when you talk about your organization and what drives you and why you do what you do, bringing in those stories, those elements really makes a difference about showing not just your leadership style, but it's also about the type of company that you've dreaming on. And for entrepreneurs, this is absolutely essential to be able to communicate their why.
Absolutely. I think now, as you are saying, I was just thinking, you have to relate your stories to your startup, and make it as a problem statement and solution in your startup might help. So definitely, I think that makes a difference. But everyone might not be a storyteller, right? So it's a dumb question, might be. A storytelling should be a polished English or just a simple way to communicate. What is your thought on that?
No, story by definition, when we tell a story, we tend to use simple language.
Okay.
So that it cuts through all the noise that's there in the world and it cuts through jargon. So the words and the language are not important. I was just speaking to a college at Dehradun yesterday. Luckily, I mean, sitting in Hong Kong, I can still do all this, which is great. And one of the students asked this question, and this we feel a lot. We feel that, and I'm just making a distinction. Sometimes it's feeling that, oh, we need to know English very well, we need to know whatever language very well, Hindi, whatever that language is. We put all these constraints around ourselves. But communication is beyond a language. It can be in any way, in any language. So the language, the depth of the vocabulary, not important. But we have to be ourselves. If you know that word, if you want to use it, use it. That's yourself. But if it's not sitting comfortably with you, don't. It's not a question of just faking it till you make it. But it's doing what comes naturally to you. And the whole purpose of using a story is to cut through all the noise and jargon. So use your own voice.
Soundri, I think it's very inspirational. You told it very simple way, because most of us stuck while storytelling, because some might be hesitant. My English might not be there, how to articulate in those situations. But you rightly said that what comes to you naturally, I think you have to exhibit. And in today's world, last question I will ask you on storytelling. In today's world, when you are in a startup and you are telling the story, that part is good. But, a lot of trends, numbers, that really drives the, the purpose of the startup. So in this situation for storytelling, do you also think we need to build the statistics before we come and tell a story about your startup? What are your thoughts?
Absolutely. No, absolutely. There is no going away from data. So, like, I have my accountant head on me as well, as much as I have my human storytelling head. They're both on my shoulders, and there's no conflict there in my mind. One of the lines that we use is stories are facts. So that's data points, whatever, which are wrapped in context and delivered with emotion. So this is not a vendetta against data. This is not a vendetta against bullet points. And one of my favorite authors, and Brené Brown, who talks a lot about vulnerability, she says that stories are data with a soul. We need to embellish the data. Data is important. That's what drives business. But how can we make it communicated in a way that is memorable, impactful, and retailable for everybody? So it's not just the CEO who knows those 4 data points. As anybody in the team who's listening to the data, I get what the data is driving. So we are also working on a whole stream of data storytelling to help especially investors and entrepreneurs look at how can you communicate the power of your data better.
Wow. Storytelling is not so easy. So Soundari, do you have any curriculum for this, for anyone to learn some of the storytelling? What is your suggestion, how to start?
There's a lot of information already available online. There are lovely books which have been written. I'm happy to share some names at the end of the thing. We can put it up on the YouTube chat part of it. But I think the first step is to just try it. You just have to go ahead and try it. Aparna shared a experience about her student who's come in and said, money, that's the difference, the initial introduction thing that she talked. That is a story. It's narrating of an incident that happened, a real incident. It happened in a certain context, and it created a certain emotion from us saying, oh, for this student, they're looking at employment versus entrepreneurship in that way. It communicated a meaning to us. So you just have to try it and practice and just go ahead and do it. And it's all coming from us.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for bringing that flavor. And let's talk more about the early stage entrepreneur life cycle. Dr. Aparna, I know that you have been training a lot of your students. So can you tell us about the early stage life cycle of an entrepreneur? Because today, when anyone wants to do a startup, there are so many issues and problems. So can you narrate some thoughts on this life cycle, which will be very useful to all the viewers in this show?
Okay, so very quickly, it's been for me, it's been an eventful journey in the past decade, if I may say so, where I've had this opportunity to work very closely with, you can't even call them early stage entrepreneurs because it's only an idea in the head, nothing else. Nothing else. It starts from there. And it's again, you don't train somebody to do a startup. They know the business rules and they know what you need to do to set up a company, etc., etc. It's about really pulling out the thought process from the mind into something that is actually actionable on the ground. So again, a couple of stories. One of the courses at DS school, which was taught by Professor Raj Jaswa, had a student putting up one slide. That one slide said "Bhuka Bachcha," and then he had some typical slides about how he wants to change the world through addressing world hunger and so on and so forth. So that "Bhuka Bachcha" was the first slide. And this young boy got trolled so badly. That was the first course in 2014, and he got trolled by his classmates and even the professors, because obviously professors see, you see these stories day in and day out.
Exactly.
The next semester, this young boy came back with a plan for building robots who can be used to clean, to collect data from non-accessible, human unfriendly situations, like detecting mines, underground mines. And they wanted to build a backpackable robot. They started with that. And they wanted to build a robot which would help clean the ships, because it's greasy, it's oily, and there's a lot of work. And similarly, if there's a fire in a factory, this robot would go in and collect like a black box, collect data and come back with the causes for the fire, etc. And they saw several use cases. Everybody was gobsmacked, if I may use that word. Not really. So because you said, wow, this boy was trolled 6 months ago for something like that, and now he comes with something that is really going to change an industry outlook. Today he is running a robotics company. This backpackable robot, getting the orders from the army and all of that, has still not happened. I don't think they have started selling to the Indian Army yet or CRPF yet, but they built robots which would help doctors and hospitals through for contactless treatment of patients in the COVID era. And they are working with several other organizations for building different types of robots and robotic parts, robotic arms, etc. So just that one
Idea.
thought, the way that one idea, and then it is of course matched with passion. And he is a first generation entrepreneur, comes from a typical middle class family where the father is a banker, the mother manages the home, and obviously they're expecting that my son has gone to IIT, so he's going to bring home a good package. But the package never happened because this student chose entrepreneurship. And he gave me a lift in one of those fancy sedans the other day. I said, "Oh my God, you've really gone places, But that's what happens. So coming to and it's a heartening journey to be part of it when they are trying to articulate their idea. It's like mining. You keep mining for ideas, you keep looking for ideas, and then the student comes up with something that is going to be meaningful. And I can go on and on and on with so many such examples. Another example is of a project called Project Nirvana. And it's not even a project where young people would venture into. They are in the space of funerals, making funerals environment friendly, Hindu funerals particularly, where we have a funeral pyre. This team actually calculated the wastage, the expenses for a funeral through wood and the other material, And they worked out a way in which they designed a gasifier and briquettes from agricultural waste, which would cut down costs and yet not compromise on the cultural demands of the religious demands of the same process. So he has physically gone into 100 cemeteries and seen the process. He's just, the first time he met me, he says, "Ma'am, मुझे कुछ करना है, simple, that's it. मुझे ऐसे करना है, वैसे करना है, दुनिया को बदल डालना है, none of that." He says, मैं जो भी करूँगा, मैं अपने दम पे करूँगा and मैं करके दिखाऊँगा, ma'am. He has still not graduated. He and his team, they are working, and they are doing 2 startups. One is what I told you about. But just imagine. So yes, working with ideas at early stage is exciting. And he's not the best of English speakers. Like Soundari said, it's about the story and it's about what you believe in, what you want to do. And then our role is to facilitate and hear them out and allow them to speak. Now, had somebody said, "Hut, what are you doing? Just stop it. थोड़ा कुछ अच्छा कर लो ना, तुम कुछ shopping का app क्यों नहीं सोच लेते?" If somebody had done that, that would not have helped. But just listening to them and allowing them to articulate would help. That's my,
I think these are great stories what you have shared, and with this, I think the viewers might really think through what an idea can become and how people can articulate. Listening skills are very important. Storytelling is important. Yeah, it is very important. Like the gurus or their parents should support in their ideas. Listen to them completely. I absolutely agree with you, Dr. Aparna. And I'm sure that the younger generation will have that freedom in future to become an entrepreneur and, change the world. So in the interest of time, I would definitely close with one last question about women entrepreneur. So you are in number of organizations transforming the women entrepreneurship. So what is your message to the women on becoming an entrepreneurship?
The question is to me, Soundari?
Yeah, please start off, Aparna.
Okay, I'll start off, yes. So women need not have a physical company in their name to be called entrepreneurs. Because women are women know, I think Indians essentially are entrepreneurial and resourceful in their thinking by virtue of the challenges that they face. So people write it off under the head of Jugaad, but it's not Jugaad. It's about the ability to navigate through the stickiest of situations and come out and get the job done. And somehow women have this ability in a very unique way. Women across the world, again, not necessarily Indian women, And so having said that, women entrepreneurship, let me put a thought to you. Women form 50% of the population in India. Okay, if not 50%, maybe 40%. I may not have the right numbers. But imagine 40% of your population being self-reliant, being able to do things on their own, using their existing skill sets and generating employment or generating revenue through some skill set that they have. Imagine what it would do to the GDP of the country. Imagine what kind of business value that would bring, right? There are now, so this recognition of the economic value, and if there is economic freedom, then the social freedom and the other cultural differences that we talk about and the other hangovers that we talk about in our society somehow tend to get they actually get defeated, because there is economic freedom which liberates you. And I have seen several companies doing different kinds of things for women entrepreneurs. Mahindra and Mahindra, very many years ago, maybe 2010 or 12, I remember, I read an article. in a newspaper where they designed tractors for women, where women could drive tractors, and women meaning they had to drive tractors you wearing saris. So that's how they made the tractor friendly for women to drive. They trained cohorts of women in driving these tractors. They tried this in the north as well as in Tamil Nadu. The women used the tractors for the fields, for picking up things, for dropping their kids to school. People would, so the same one object has kind of created so much of freedom in that society, in that community. And the men got free to go to the nearby cities or nearby towns and get incomes, work on other jobs that they were good at. So suddenly the money, the income in the family doubled. This article has stuck in my mind. It's not that I have it in front of me or anything of the sort, but just see the power of one intervention. Today you have several such interventions, like Kalari Capital, for example, has brought in CXXO, has introduced, and Vanikula has put in her personal monies, $10 million every year to support women-led ventures. Then there is the Women in Entrepreneurship program that we are running at IIT Bombay, which supports women through network and through facilitating connections with people who can bring in their marketplace connections, the networking, the product development, infrastructure, technology, funding, so that kind of an umbrella organization. Then you have Action for India, which is looking at women entrepreneurs. Aspire for Her, where Soundari and I met, is a massive platform for women, not just for entrepreneurs, but it's a fantastic platform to provide opportunities to ensure that workplaces have the right diversity ratio. And they have launched a program called Entreprenari. So I would like Soundari to talk about that also.
Definitely.
So Entreprenari, yes. So Soundari, would you like to talk about that? So there are several programs like this. Wiki, where I'm a member, the Women's Indian Chamber of Commerce, is looking at sustainable businesses and sustainable business management. And we are doing one research project right now where we found that somehow women-led ventures are naturally leaning towards sustainable businesses. So women naturally tend to think about people, planet, prosperity, profits, the bottom line. So they're not only thinking profit, they're not only thinking capitalism, they're not only thinking consumerism. So women are thinking about, if there is a lady thinking of a food company, she's thinking about eco-friendly packaging or recyclable packaging. So things like that. Yes. So it's a powerful segment and lots more to talk about that.
Very well said, Dr. Aparna. I know that by birth, every woman is always a very well managed entrepreneur, right? It begins from home. I'm sure they will be successful. Yeah, over to you, Soundari. And
if you have to, if you have to look at it in three parts, one is the access to capital, the second is access to mentorship and networks, and the third is the access to communities. There's a lot of work that's being done on all three. And we talked about access to capital, which is CXXO, Vanikula's, Wiki, and all that. There's access to mentorship and networks, which are absolutely important. And Aparna and I sometimes tease each other about this as entrepreneurs. As entrepreneurs, what you do is you think up of a concept, which you write in a letter, then you put it in an envelope, you lick the envelope, you stick the envelope, you lick the stamp, you stick the stamp, and then you post the letter, then you call the person and ask them, have you received the letter? So you're doing everything. So it is sort of like you need so much of support mechanism to remove some of the tactical work out of you so you can think strategic. An entrepreneur ends up doing this, and this is one of the common mistakes, and I'm guilty of it in my initial entrepreneurship journey as well, of trying to do everything, not employing, because you're constantly thinking costs. You don't employ resources, you try to do everything yourself, and that doesn't, it's not a long game then. It's a short term solution. You're going to burn yourself out. You're not going to have the time to think strategically on things that you should be focusing on. So, what is it that others can do, and what can you remove yourself of? And access to mentorships and networks really helps you do that. And Entrepreneury by Aspire for Her, which has a lot more platforms. It also has a platform on return to work. The whole idea of work is again not defined in a very narrow way. You want to be an entrepreneur, whatever line of work that you want to take, there is a support mechanism. Lot of the people mentors in the platform are people who are also doing this, having had a fruitful corporate career, now looking at how do we give back to the community. So tapping on your networks and not, really looking at ask and you'll get kind of thing. And Aparna talked about WIE. So through their ideas program, there was a lady who had come in for speed mentoring, and she was working in a particular problem that she was trying to solve in Hyderabad. During the course of the program, I realized that I had some contact with somebody in the similar industry who had already been a pioneer there. So she stayed in touch with me, but it's also that perseverance and the drive. So the conversation happened on a Saturday. On Sunday morning, I had a WhatsApp from her saying, oh, can you connect me to the person? You said you'll connect. Can you connect me to the person? Now I said, yeah, it's Sunday. I had thought to myself, it's Sunday, किसी को trouble ना करें, Monday को करते हैं. But her eagerness and her drive made me do the connection and go. So sometimes it's also ask and you'll get.
Yes.
So you need to be very okay to ask, and it pans itself out. And creating some of these networks which create access to communities. How do you support each other? How can you find ways to collaborate with each other? Because as they say, you can't go far if you go alone. I'm paraphrasing the saying, but if you want to make the world a better place, if you want to have a really big, hairy, audacious goal, you need to go beyond, and you need to collaborate, and you need to be finding ways to create those mechanisms. So access to capital, access to mentors, networks, and community, all are essential.
I think you have rightly said. And a simple example I say, because not only women entrepreneurship, even men entrepreneurs as well, they do themselves because they are in the early stage. They wanted to save some money, but networking, mentoring, as you said, giving up to the community. Many people are there across the networks to help you. So people do not get into those networking. That's why they are not successful. I will proudly say, Soundari, because connecting you is Dr. Aparna, right? So networking with Dr. Aparna, she has introduced me to number of people, this mentorship, this willingness to help, really taking the show as well forward. So I would say all the viewers to take this as an important point. When you want to do a startup, don't think that you are alone, right? There are many people, many networks, many internships who can help with a minimal economical way, and you can be benefited out of it. And then they might give some thoughts how to go forward. You rightly said, Dr. Aparna and Soundari, really these are very important things. I'm sure the viewers will take away as a very important inputs for their entrepreneur journey. And in the interest of time, I would let you both to tell final message to all the viewers, and then we will close. And again, thank you for your time. Over to you, Soundari, and then followed by Dr. Aparna, we'll close the show.
Yeah. No, entrepreneurship is a long journey. Like we keep saying, it's a marathon, it's not a sprint. It can also be a very lonely journey.
Yes.
So one thing that I missed mentioning earlier, there are a lot of automation tools that are available now in the market. Mm-hmm. So we need to develop the expertise to sift through them and use them, so we can make ourselves also, that much more freer to focus on the strategic issues. So it is a long game. So we need to also look at self-care. I was listening to a Clubhouse talk just before, I think a few days back, and one startup founder said, founder's journey, there is no room for rest. And this founder was a founder of a wellness industry. So that for me didn't strike okay. You need to really look at self-care these days. We can be doing everything over the weekend, time in and day out, but you have to pace yourself. You don't want a burnout situation. Take care of yourself, put your oxygen mask first, so that you're able to do all the pay forward that you want to do.
Absolutely. Very well said. Dr. Aparna, how about you? What is your message to the community?
Yes. So let me take from what Soundari said. You have to you have to be covered yourself first before you go out there and actually try and do things that to change the world, which is definitely on. And I do know several successful entrepreneurs. One of my icons is Deepa Soman. Another one is Karen Shaiva. They are always cheerful. You don't know, meaning I'm sure they're facing storms at their workplace and their companies, but the way they conduct themselves and the peace that they bring to you when you talk to them, you go to them with a question and you get your answers. So this personal wellness is critical. From there, another mantra that I learned, meaning, a colleague of mine used to quote it very often. And it was something that Dr. Shrikant of SP Jain used to say many times. He would say that there are 5 words which will help you to become more efficient as a manager or as a leader. The first word, so they are eliminate, automate, outsource, delegate, and do it yourself. So you go through these layers, this thought process. So by the time you come to the do it yourself, you know that these are my tasks. I do not give them to anybody else to do. But the rest of it, I can figure out what I can, how I can get solutions. And today there are solutions available. And in fact, we were also talking, Soundari and I, and many of us on the Aspire for Her group were talking about how we wish we were 16 again, just for the number of entrepreneurship opportunities that are available. And then I said, no, that's okay. So we are 16, maybe with some extra years of experience. And that's exactly why I decided to kind of, take the plunge and say, I'm going to start up things on my own. And it's a high time that I do this, rather than simply sit on a chair and tell people, okay, you do this or you do that. I'm going to take the plunge because there is opportunity available today.
Absolutely. So yes, I think your journey with so many young entrepreneurs, definitely you might have thought that we need to be again in our 16 and do some wonderful. I think that's very, very true and very informational on the entrepreneur journey for the early startups. And thank you all the viewers, and thank you Soundari, and thank you Dr. Aparna. It is too late and you have given your time, and it is really honor, and I'm blessed to have you on my show. And I would say all the viewers, these are the powerful people coming and explaining, and this is giving back to the community. Everyone, please, if you need any help, don't hesitate. Please reach out to us and we are more than happy to help. And good luck if you are a young entrepreneur or looking for a startup. Please understand these small principles and mantras and you will be successful. Again, thank you so much. Have a wonderful evening, and bye.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Praveen, for organizing this. Thanks, Aparna.
Those clumsy cards. So with no delay today, download iPerks app and bask inside cozily, just clicking on your phone screen. Behold and watch your important groceries, favorite foods, goods, and goodies arrive outside your door. Shop with fun, pick with ease, save the time and skip the line. iPerks, your one-stop app for everything you want.
There is